The Irish and Celtic Music Podcast, show number 685. Welcome to the Irish and Celtic Music Podcast, helping you celebrate Celtic culture through music. I am Mark Gunn, Celtic musician and podcaster, and this podcast is for fans of Celtic music. You're going to hear some amazing artists. Some you've never heard of, many you have, actually. So the show is here to build a diverse Celtic community and help the incredible artists who so generously share their music with you. It's the funny thing about podcasts. These artists don't get paid royalties to be played on this show. They do it because they want to be heard. So if you hear music you love, please email the artists, let them know you heard them on the Irish and Celtic Music Podcast. Musicians depend on your generosity to keep making music, so please find a way to support them. Buy a CD, album pen, shirt, digital download, or join their community on Patreon. You're going to find a link to all the artists in the show notes, along with show times, when you visit our website at CelticMusicPodcast.com. Again, this is really important. The musicians do provide this. I buy all their music to help support them, which honestly pays a lot of the royalties, but it really helps even more when you are able to actually support the bands that you love. Patreon is, in my book, is the number one way to support music going forward. But if you like CDs, buy a CD. Album pens, for those who don't know, an album pen is an enamel pen that is themed to a particular album, and then you get a digital download of the album, and then you can wear your album wherever you go. So it's a great way to support the bands. Shirts, digital downloads, whatever. Find a way to support them. Do you do Celtic knotwork? Send me your designs. Perhaps I'll use it for the 2025 shirt and album pen. And if you're a Celtic musician or in a Celtic band, then please submit your band to be played on the podcast. I'd love to get you featured on the show. You don't have to send in any music because, again, I buy it when I can. Or an EPK. You will get a free ebook. It's called Celtic Musician's Guide to Digital Music. And this is actually It's for sale over on Amazon, but you can get a free copy. Just send an email to follow@bestcelticmusic.net. And it also has some additional information on how to promote yourself online. And of course, listeners can send an email there as well to subscribe to the podcast and get a free music-only episode. So we kicked off the show with Dancing with Hobbits. That's my band that I put together, and we released a new album back in September. The track is called Folk on Foot, which if you are a podcast listener, you might have seen that name before, because there's a podcast of that same name. In fact, I named it as a tribute to this wonderful podcast. So I was a geography major in college, which is cultural geography in particular. And so music and hiking around is what the podcast is ultimately about, that podcast, Folk on Foot. And does it all over the British Isles. I just absolutely love the show because it fuses my love of traveling and my love of cultures and music as well. So it's just a brilliant show. If you want to find a fun, entertaining show, lots of talking, lots of hiking, lots of music, then go check out Folk on Foot. And we're going to play next Cherish the Ladies. I got to see them at Irish Fest Atlanta, and wow, I see why they have been kicking butt for the past, 40 years, I think. They've been performing since, I think, 1985, I think they said. And they put on a fantastic show. The whole Irish Fest Atlanta was just absolutely amazing. I had such a wonderful time. I wish I could have done more. I did not get to see the Friel sisters, sadly. But I did get to see a whole bunch of other bands performing. And I'm looking forward to sharing some stories and interviews that I did while I was out there. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, here's Cherish the Ladies with the Portumna Workhouse, the Hurling Boys of Portumna. It's from their album Heart of the Home.
tramps and hawker lads who hear the highways call, who tramp this country round and round, come listen one and all. I'll tell to you a roving tale and sights that I have seen, far up into the snowy north and south by Gretna Green. I've seen the high Ben Nevis a-towering to the moon. I've been by Crieff and Callander and round by Bonnydoon, and by the Nethy silvery tides and places ill to go, far up into the snowy north lies Urquhart's Glen, I know. I often laugh unto myself when trudging on the road, a sack of corn upon my back, my face as brown as a toad, with lumps of cakes and tatty scones and salted ham and cheese, not thinking where I'm coming from, nor where this pathway leads. Loch Kathryn and Loch Lomond have both been seen by me. The Dee, the Don, the Devon that hurries unto the sea, Dunrobin Castle by the way I nearly had forgot, and then the cairns that mark me, lads, the house of John O'Groat. I'm happy in the summertime beneath the bright blue sky, not thinking in the morning, at night where I will lie, in barns or byres or anywhere, or out among the hay. And if the weather does permit, I'm happy every day. I'm up and around by Galloway, or down about Stranraer. My business takes me anywhere, sure I travel near and far. I've got a roving notion that speeds me on my way, and all my days my daily fare, I have no rent to pay. I'll go to Paddy's land, I'm making up my mind, for Scotland's greatly altered now, the coin I cannot find, but I will trust in Providence, if Providence prove true. then I will sing of Erin's Isle when I come back to you.
summertime began its prime, the weather calm and clear. I left the town called Portumna between me and my dear. In Glasgow city I arrived, and to its side I came, where all alone I made my moan to Kelvin. can ye roll without control onto some foreign key? Oh, your murmurs pain my bosom sore. Here stands an honest lad, and he'll ne'er prove false to the girl he loves till Kelvin's streams run dry. As many's the little pretty fish swims in yon water clear, and there's many's the long and the weary mile between me and my dear. Oh, there's many's the flower grows in yon bower that would my fancy please, but I'll ne'er forget the girl I love who lives near Lurgan-Bray. The summertime being in its prime, the weather calm and clear. I left the town called Portumna between me and my dear. In Glasgow city I arrived, and to its side I came, where all alone I made my moan to Kelvin's hurling stream.
After Cherish the Ladies came Jessie Ferguson with Tramps and Hawkers from 10, then Ruth Keggin and Rachel Hare with Tri-Nation Harp Jigs from LOSSAN. I am hoping to share an interview I did with them when we were on the Isle of Man. Ruth Keggin is a Manx singer, and Rachel Hare, she's a Scottish harper, but they played for us during our Celtic invasion of the Isle of Man, and I got a great interview, but I still haven't done anything with it, so I'm going to try to put it together, and I'm going to release the whole thing for patrons, so stay tuned for that. But there will also be a public version, it'll be a bit shorter, where we get to talk to the two. So stay tuned for that. The Friel sisters finish up the set with Kelvin's Purling Stream. It's from their album Before the Sun. I want your feedback. What are you doing today while listening to the podcast? You can send a written comment along with a picture of what you were doing while listening, or of a band that you saw recently. Or you can also answer this question: how are you listening to this podcast? I'd love to know that as well. The show is available on a bunch of podcast apps like Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict, iHeartRadio for now, Player FM, Pocket Cast, Castbox, Pandora, Podbeam, and my favorite, Overcast. Now, not all of those are, some of those are Android, some of those are Apple, but I am running into the problem with Amazon Music, for instance. They are no longer supported, which is something that happens when you have a Celtic radio show, basically. But if you'd like to send your feedback, send it to follow@bestcelticmusic.net. Tim Hughes messaged me on Facebook. Mark, I've been using Podcast Republic for years. So there's another one. Check it out. Podcast Republic. Timothy P. Fryer messaged, "Hi Mark, I found your podcast about a year ago and started listening from episode 1. I'm up to episode number 338. The episodes I enjoy the most are the instrumental-only shows and anything with bagpipes. I've recently run into an issue listening to the podcast on Amazon. It is no longer available. I did change to a different source as there are several. What happened? Thanks." So yes, I mentioned Amazon Music a moment ago. Amazon Music, my best guess is because I am basically a Celtic radio show. Playing studio recordings from albums that are on streaming is that it is basically a conflict of interest, and therefore they are not offering storing it there anymore. So that's my best guess. I know that's what happened with Spotify, but and so I'm guessing that's probably the same thing that happened with Amazon Music, which sucks, but there's not a whole lot that we can do. Except if you want to listen to the podcast, then you need a podcast app that is dedicated to podcasts, because those are not going to run into that problem. Pandora, for instance, and iHeartRadio. I wouldn't be surprised if in the future those are no longer available there. I'm not even sure about Pandora. I don't actually use Pandora, so I don't know anything about it. Finally, Mike Bromond message, I'm just exploring Southern Oregon and happened upon the Black Sheep Pub in Ashland. Every Sunday, they host a jam session with amazing musicians from the area. Highly recommended. I'm getting together this week with a couple that was on my Celtic Invasion of Scotland, the whiskey of Scotland, in a couple days, and they were not very familiar with Irish sessions. And there are Irish sessions around the nation and probably and around the world. So an Irish session, for those who don't know, is basically a jam session of Celtic music. And it varies how they are done. Most of them are primarily instrumental. Some actually have vocal songs as well, but it's largely instrumental music and dance tunes and upbeat reels and jigs. So go check it out if you find one in your area. It's a great way to get connected with local Celtic musicians. If you want to hear more about Irish sessions and how they work and such, I had an interview I did with Shannon Heaton a couple years back, and I didn't release it on this podcast, but I'm going to, so stay tuned for that. Let's get back to the music. Joseph Carmichael is up next from his new album, Desiderium. This is for Beany. Here's Joseph Carmichael.
when the moon is smiling in the sky, and wild geese take to flight, winging o'er the snow below, and southward out of sight. I sit beside my own hearth's fire and gaze into the flame. The embers fall, and I recall when first you spoke my name. When first you spoke my name. River and road, river and road, together we've wandered the river and the road, river and road, river and road, together we've wandered the river and the road. When the frost was on the cottonwood and leaves were amber hue, I saw you sitting there alone. I saw you then and knew that you and I this road would walk, no matter what the cost. The river always seemed to show the way when we were lost, the way when we were lost. River and road, river and road, together we've wandered the river and the road, river and road, river and road, together
It will not be long, love, till our wedding day. She stepped away from me, and she moved through the fair, and fondly I watched her move here and move there, and then she turned homeward with one star awake, like the swan in the evening moves over the lake. Last night she came to me. She came softly in, so softly she came that her feet made no din, and she laid her hand on me, and this she did say, it will not be long, love, till our wedding day.
After Joseph Carmichael came Dublin Gulch with The River and the Road. It's from their album Tapper Light. Then Honeybee and Hard Border by the Henry Girls from A Time to Grow. And we finished up the set with Adria Jackson. That was She Moved Through the Fair. It's from her album Troubadour. Thank you so much, patrons of the podcast. It is your generosity that brings this great music each and every week. You are amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Your kindness pays for our engineer, graphic designer, Celtic Music Magazine editor, promotion of the podcast, and allows me to buy the music I play here. It also pays for my time in creating the show each and every week. As a patron, you get ad-free episodes before regular listeners. You get to vote in the Celtic Top 20, you get standalone stories, and you get a private feed to listen to the show, or you can listen through the Patreon app, all for as little as $1 per month. Yes, I said per month. So Patreon is undergoing a big change. They will no longer be doing per episode starting at the beginning of the year. I decided to move mine to a monthly basis starting as soon as they'll make it happen. So it might be this week, it might be next, I don't know, but it will be happening very soon. So you can decide how much you want to support the podcast for. I hope you will consider at least the Songhanger level, which is $5 per month. But, you know, whatever works best for you and your budget, because, again, you need to take care of yourself first and foremost. Special thanks to our new and continued patrons, Yoke Gershon and P. Michael Deegan. Here is your all-new 3-step plan to support the podcast. Number 1, go to our Patreon page. Number 2, decide how much you want to pledge per month. $1, $5, $25, $15, $10, $100, just however much you want to support. Number 3, keep listening to the Irish and Celtic Music Podcast to celebrate Celtic culture through music. You can become a generous patron of the podcast on Patreon at songhenge.com, and you can also join me on a Celtic Invasion vacation in 2025. We're going to the Celtic nation of Galicia in Spain. We're going to learn about the history and legends behind the Celts there and experience some amazing Galician Celtic music. It will be a relaxing adventure of a lifetime. We won't see everything, but we will get to know the region through its culture, history, and legends. If you want to catch up more about Celtic trips that I've done, you can join us for an auditory and visual adventure at CelticInvasion.com. And you'll also get some more idea about this amazing trip that I'm planning for 2025. I hope you'll join me. Back to the music. Sheridan Rúitín is up next with Wagoner's Lad from Rebels in the Night.
controlled by their parents until they are wives, then slaves to their husbands the rest of their lives. I am a poor girl, my fortune is sad. I've always been courted by the wagoner's lad. He's courted me daily, by night and by day.
misty morning light show once was near. It calls me, it finds me inside a distant memory. I reach out and hold on, but suddenly it's gone. We sing our sorrows, these Irish sorrows, when we beg or borrow, pray for tomorrow. We sing our sorrows, these Irish sorrows, when we push the barrow, shake the chains and shoot the arrow. And in the evening calmness, tides turn slow. That rocky shoreline echoes soft and low. It calls me, it finds me inside a distant memory. I reach out and hold on, but suddenly it's gone. We sing our sorrows, these Irish sorrows, when we beg or borrow, pray for tomorrow. We sing our sorrows, these Irish sorrows, when we push the barrow, shake the chains and shoot the arrow. Our history surrounds us, guides and molds. It whispers ancient stories, truths unfold. It calls me, it finds me inside a distant memory. I reach out, hold on, but it's gone. Remember what they say, remember, don't surrender to the grave. Remember what they say, remember what they gave. Remember, don't surrender to the grave. Remember what they gave. We sing our sorrows, these Irish sorrows, when we beg or borrow, pray for tomorrow. We sing our sorrows, you can't hide these Irish sorrows, when we push the barrow, shake the chains and shoot the arrows. Push the barrow, shake the chains and shoot the arrow.
We'll sow 'em, yeah, we'll stow 'em in rum. Nelson died at sea. Oh, didn't you hear about a ship called Victory, of Lord Admiral Nelson and his place in history? A tale of battles fought, of loss and bravery. Tow 'em and we'll sow 'em, yeah, we'll stow 'em in rum. Nelson died at sea. For 20 years a captain, many voyages had he. He grew his reputation as he sailed upon the sea. Lost half his side and half his arm, paid it willingly. Tow 'em and we'll sow 'em, yeah, we'll stow 'em in rum. Nelson died at sea. So raise a glass of Nelson's blood, if life and ye be bold. A man whose corpse was stowed in booze and his legend grew tenfold. Regale now to me that story seldom told. Tow 'em and we'll sow 'em, yeah, we'll stow 'em in rum. Nelson died at sea. every man must play his part out on the wild sea, and every man must be prepared to do his duty. The Waxvalger won, a sniper found his mark. The surgeon sent him home in a cask, cold and dark. He lived a life of action, of powder, ball and spark. Tow him and we'll sow him, yeah, we'll stow him in rum. Nelson died at sea. So raise a glass of Nelson's blood, like him ye be bold. A man whose corpse was stowed in booze and his legend grew tenfold. Regale now to me that story seldom told. Tow him and we'll sow him, yeah, we'll stow him in rum. Nelson died at sea. So raise a glass of Nelson's blood, like him ye be bold. A man whose corpse was stowed in booze and his legend grew tenfold. Regale now to me that story seldom told. Tow him and we'll sow him, yeah, we'll stow him in rum. Nelson died at sea. Tow him and we'll sow him, yeah, we'll stow him in rum. Nelson died at sea.
After Sheridan Rúitín came Skyrie with the Lambs from Hunger Road, then Socks in the Frying Pan with their brand new album Waiting for Inspiration that was Shoot the Arrow, and we finished up the set with Nelson's Blood by Old Man Flanagan's Ghost from Simple Little Boat. All right, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Remember, it is time to get your votes in for the Celtic Top 20 of 2024. This is our way of finding the best songs and artists each year. You can vote for as many songs and tunes that inspire you in each episode. Your vote helps me create next year's Best Celtic Music of 2024 episode. You have only 3 weeks to vote. Yeah, you still have 3 weeks to vote. I had to double check that because we are nearing the end of the voting. It all ends, I think, on December 6th is the last day of all voting. Something like that. Make sure to transfer that information and tell you about it next week. In the meantime, we're going to finish up the show with Kathryn Tickell. This is Jones Jig and Cut the File from Return to Kilderside. Talk to you again next week. Sláinte. The Irish and Celtic Music Podcast is produced by Mark Gunn, the Celt Father, and our patrons on Patreon. The show is edited by Mitchell Peterson with graphics by Miranda Nelson Designs. Visit our website to follow the show. You'll find a link to all of the artists played in this episode. Todd Wiley is the editor of the Celtic Music Magazine. Subscribe to get 34 Celtic MP3s for free, plus you'll get 7 weekly news items about what's happening with Celtic music and culture online. Best of all, you will connect with your Celtic heritage. Please tell one friend about this podcast. Word of mouth is the absolute best way to support any creative endeavor. Finally, remember, reduce, reuse, recycle, and think about how you can make a positive impact on your environment. Don't just remember it, do it, because it's even more important than ever. So promote Celtic culture through music at CelticMusicPodcast.com.